Hello dear students, my name is Lily Case. I'll be taking up social science for class 8. So today the topic that I'm going to explain is chapter 10, agriculture. You will find it in page number 74 in your textbook. So before I proceed to the chapter, I'll be pointing out some few highlights that we are going to cover today, the subtopics, and I will be expecting you to carry your textbook with you whenever I'm explaining so that you will be able to understand the content even better. Okay, so let's proceed to that. So the subtopics that we are going to cover today is what is agriculture, factors influencing the agriculture, progress in Indian agriculture, the different types of agriculture, major crops and agricultural developments. So I'll start with the first subtopic, that is what is agriculture. So what is agriculture? Agriculture means it could be planting of crops, it could also be rearing of animals. So agriculture could be either planting or rearing of animals, that is agriculture. So in present times, agriculture is so important. It could be in other countries, even in India also. There are certain people who are daily wage earners and they used to depend on agriculture. Alright, so agriculture. Now coming to the second point, that is factors influencing agriculture. So in order to have a healthy agriculture, there are certain factors that are required. Okay, so certain factors that used to influence the agriculture. Number one is climate, the second point is soil, third is relief, okay, and also there are other points that I will be adding up later on. So first is climate. Why climate is so important for a good agriculture? Because if there is proper temperature, proper rainfall, then the cultivation will be successful, okay. Now the second point is soil. Okay, remember there are 3 points that I've mentioned: climate, soil and relief. Okay, now the second part is soil. So why soil is so important for an agriculture? It is because with the help of a good soil, like for example cotton, okay, cotton cannot be grown in any other types of soil. Cotton can be grown only in black soil. So similarly for the rice, it grows only in alluvial type of soil, okay. So likewise, in order to grow certain types of crops, you need a good soil. So soil is another factor that influences the agriculture. Now the third is relief, okay. So in order to have a good agriculture, there should be a good weather condition, there should be good, even the location has to be good. Make sure that, there are certain crops that used to grow only in the slopy areas, okay? And there are certain crops that grows in the foothills of the mountains, like for example the coffee, the tea, okay, which we will be covering up later on. But right now we are focusing mainly on the factors, all right? So factors that influences the agriculture is, one is climate, second is soil, and the third is relief. Now the other factors that influences the agriculture is market, okay, market is also very important. Then we have transport facilities, that is another very important, and also different agricultural programs, okay. All this comes under factors that influences the agriculture. Now let's come to the third point, okay. The third point is progress in Indian agriculture. We all know that India got independence on 15th of August 1947. So ever since India got independence, there has been a lot of changes in agriculture. One of the reasons that we can see in the progress, one of the reasons that we see progress in agriculture is the abolition of zamindari system. So zamindari system, this term comes from Indian language, okay. So zameen is a land and zamindari are certain type of people who are totally responsible for a plot of land. So after India got independence, this zamindari system have been completely abolished, okay. Then another progress that we can see in Indian agriculture is the agricultural programs. Okay, nowadays even here in our state there are certain departments who used to mainly focus on the agriculture. There are also certain agricultural programs like which is provided by our minister, our prime minister, where they used to give free seeds and free fertilizers to the farmers in order to have a good plantation. So these are the certain progress that we have seen in Indian agriculture. Okay, if you go through your textbook, you will find even more, and you will be able to relate to what are the progresses that we have observed in these times. Okay, now coming to the fourth point, that is types of agriculture. Please remember these points. Okay, now we are in the fourth point, types of agriculture. There are two types of agriculture. One is subsistence agriculture and one is commercial agriculture. Remember, there are two. One is subsistence and one is commercial agriculture. Okay, now what is subsistence agriculture? So there is a difference between this subsistence agriculture and commercial agriculture. Now in subsistence agriculture, it involves a small group of people. Usually it could be a family members or say a small number of labor, okay? But in commercial agriculture, a huge plotted land is required and even the laborers are huge in number, okay? Now let me be specific with these points. So coming to the first point, the subsistence agriculture. So under this subsistence agriculture, there are various practices, okay? One is nomad herding. So what happens in nomad herding? So these people, they used to gather their animals, okay? They used to gather the animals and they used to go out in search of fodder. So what is a fodder? It's a food for animals, okay? So they used to gather these animals and go out in search of fodder. Then the second practice is the shifting cultivation. So the other name of shifting cultivation is slash and burn, okay? This is very popularly practiced even here in Nagaland, okay? When you go to your fields, I'm sure you have come across where they used to cut the trees, they used to burn it, and they just leave it like that for some moment, okay? And then in the meantime, they will be doing the cultivation on another plot of land. So likewise, they used to shift, okay? So the other name of shifting cultivation is slash and burn, okay? So that is the second practice, all right? Now the third practice is intensive agriculture, okay? So what happens here? The family used to involve in the agriculture purpose, here they used to apply the modern tools and implements for the agriculture, and they used to, this practice is mostly done in densely populated areas, means where there is more population, okay? So this intensive agriculture includes less people and they use modern tools and techniques, and this is mostly done in densely populated areas, all right? So remember, under the subsistence agriculture, we had 3 points. One was the slash and burn system, okay? One was the intensive agriculture, and one was the nomad herding, okay? Now let's come to the second type of agriculture. The second type of agriculture was commercial agriculture, okay? Now what is commercial agriculture? Like the name itself, commercial. Commercial means for business purpose, for marketing purpose, okay? For selling and buying, okay? All these are included in commercial agriculture. Now in commercial agriculture, what they do? They need a lot of labor, as I've mentioned earlier. They need a lot of labor. A big plot of land is required, okay? And then here, they use modern tools and machines. In some of the factories, what they do, they have more machines and less labor. But in some places, they have more laborers along with machines, where people uses these machines to grow the crops and to produce certain things, okay? So under this commercial agriculture, we have plantation agriculture, where only one type of plant is grown in one time, all right? So under this plantation agriculture, if they are focusing on rice, they will grow only rice, okay? Or if they are focusing on wheat, they will grow only wheat, okay? Likewise, only one crop at a time, all right? Now for under this commercial type of agriculture, we have another point, and that is extensive agriculture. Okay, here in extensive agriculture, it's completely the opposite of intensive agriculture, which we have learned under subsistence agriculture. Here in extensive agriculture, more people are included with machines and tools. Okay, I've repeated that earlier also. Then another type of commercial agriculture is mixed farming. Okay, now what is mixed farming? Here they would plant the crops along with rearing of animals. So why they do that? When they are planting the crops, they're also planting fodder for the animals. I said fodder is food for animals, right? So they are planting the crops along with they are rearing the animals. Okay, so this mixed farming is very popularly done in many parts of the country. And under this mixed farming, this crop rotation is also done. So what is crop rotation? Well, they would plant 2 or 3 crops together, okay, or sometimes in a rotational process. Okay, so sometimes if they are planting potato, in the next year they would be planting some other vegetables. Okay, so that is rotating. And why they do these practices is because they believe that it helps in the fertility of the soil. All right, so that is why the mixed farming is done. So, and the last part and the last practice under the commercial agriculture is the dairy farming. Okay, so dairy farming, like the name itself, it is a farming. Okay, it's a rearing of animal, especially animal like cows, where the rearing is done for milk and milk products. Okay, so they take out the milk from the cow, and then it is being processed, and then it is converted into different products, either for edible purposes or for something that we can use at homes. Okay, so that is dairy farming. Now let me go back again. Under these types of agriculture, we had 2 types. One was subsistence agriculture and one was commercial agriculture. Okay, then coming to the 5th point. All right, now there are major crops. So there are 2 major crops. Okay, worldwide there are 2 major crops. One is the food crops and the other one is fiber crops. Okay, so under these food crops, the examples are usually cereals like rice, wheat, maize and millets. Okay, now under these major crops, we will also rely to this point number 2, the factors influencing the agriculture. Okay, so in order to grow these crops, we need certain factors, like for example rice. Okay, if we want to grow a rice, we should see that the rainfall has to be 100 to 200 centimeter. Then the temperature should not exceed 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. And then even the soil has to be either alluvial soil or it has to be a loamy soil. Okay, because rice needs a lot of water. Okay, so I'm sure you have also visited your paddy fields. Some of you have your personal fields also, so you can go and visit that and you will witness it by yourself. Okay, so likewise for growing these major crops, we need these factors, that is climate, we need relief, and we need a good soil. All right, now under these major crops, as I've mentioned, there are 2 types. One is food crops and one is fiber crops. Okay, so let's first focus on the food crops. So what are the food crops? So food crops are rice, maize, millets and wheat. So rice is a kind of food that we depend on a daily basis. Okay, and China is considered as one of the largest producers of rice. All right, followed by other Asian countries like India, Korea, Japan. Okay, then next comes wheat. Wheat is mostly grown in developed countries like USA, Russia. Okay, and wheat has a history of 6,000 years. Okay, because it is considered that wheat is one such type of crop which people has been depending as a food crop for over 6,000 years. Okay, so next is millets. Now millets is mostly grown in India. Okay, and millet is one such crop which require any type of soil. Like you can grow even in a sandy type of soil, all right? So millets is such type of crop which can be grown in any type of soil, but crops like rice, wheat and maize, they require a certain type of soil and climate in order to grow, okay? Now coming to maize, okay? Maize in USA it is termed as corn, okay? Remember, in USA it is known as corn, whereas in other countries we call it maize, okay? In Europe it was first introduced by Christopher Columbus. I'm sure you have heard this name. He was a sailor, all right? It was brought to Europe by Christopher Columbus, okay? Then next is the fiber crops, okay? Now we will come to the fiber crops. That is the second type of major crops, okay? So fibers are usually materials, okay, that are made from the raw materials like cotton and jute, and it can, most of the jute materials we find it even in our homes, like the mattresses, the carpets, the baskets, okay, all these are made from jute, okay? And then even cotton is a very popular fiber crop. Cotton, most of the time we wear the cotton clothes. I'm sure most of you will be wearing cotton clothes right now, okay? So cotton usually does not come in that way. It is taken out from the garden, it is processed, it comes in a white and fluffy material, okay? So then it is converted and it is converted as a cloth which we are using today, okay? And next is the beverage crops, okay? So beverage crops are tea and coffee, okay? So the difference between this tea and coffee is that tea are mostly grown in the slopy areas, whereas the coffee are grown in under the foothills, okay? Foothills of the valleys, okay? And tea is very popularly found in Assam, in Darjeeling, and this was introduced by the British, okay? And the coffee, the name coffee came from a place called Kaffa, okay? So from that place it was first discovered, so the name coffee was termed as coffee now, and it was originated from Kaffa, okay? Now, so under these major crops, we had three types of crops. Of course, the two major crops were food crops and the fiber crops, and then even beverage crops is included, okay? But there are two major, one is food crops and one is fiber crop, okay? Now, coming to the agricultural developments. Now, when we rely back to the ancient times, okay, when we look to the ancient times, we see that a lot of changes have come up, right? From people, from nomads, they were searching for food, hunting for animals. But when this agriculture came, people started settling in one place. They started making houses, they started rearing animals in their own surroundings, and they also started planting crops, right? So the developments, you know, every time there is development coming up, okay? So the agricultural developments in the recent times that we see are more programs have come up where, as I've mentioned earlier also, that they used to provide free seeds and fertilizers to the farmers so they can plant the crops. And also some of the agricultural developments we can observe is the production, more production, okay? Why? Because the population is increasing day by day, year by year. And in order to meet the demands of this high population, a huge production is very important, okay? That's why agricultural developments is also very important. It has to be done in order to meet the demands of this huge population that we have right now, okay? So that's all about this agricultural developments. In page number 80 and 81 in your textbook, you will find two case studies, okay? There are two case studies in your textbook, and one is about a developed country, USA, and the other one is India, which is a developing country. If you go through these two case studies, you will find that there were differences between these. The differences that you will be able to find is that in developed countries, they are more modernized, they have more sophisticated tools in order to do the agriculture, whereas in developing countries, of course, even they are also trying their best, and even there is improvement, but however, in developed countries, they are they produce higher productions. Okay, so if you go through those 2 case studies, you will be able to find a lot more. Okay, now, okay, so that was all about this agriculture. Now let me go back. Let's have a quick recap of what we have covered so far. Okay, so what is agriculture? Like I said, agriculture could be in the form of rearing animals, or it could be in the form of growing crops. Okay, so both comes under agriculture, and it is very popular. It is widely used in many parts of the country. Okay, now the factors that influence the agriculture are: one is climate, one is soil, and one is relief, and other factors include the transportation facilities and agriculture programs. Okay, now when we talk about progress in Indian agriculture, we have seen a lot of progress in Indian agriculture. There are certain departments who are mainly focusing on the agriculture. They are trying their best to improve the agriculture in India. Okay, so there, and we can see a lot more progress. If you go through the textbook, you will be able to understand even more. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, now the 4th one is the types of agriculture. You try to ask yourself, what are the different types of agriculture that I have explained to you? One was the subsistence agriculture, and the other one was the commercial agriculture. Okay, subsistence and commercial are opposite to one another. Okay, subsistence require less people, whereas commercial require more people. Okay, so there are some differences. Okay, so under this subsistence agriculture comes nomad herdings, the shifting cultivation, which I have explained to you. Then it also have this intensive agriculture. Okay, then the other type of agriculture is commercial agriculture, where they do this agriculture mostly for the business purpose. Okay, where the markets are involved, where people are involved in transportation facilities. Okay, where machines are used and tools are used. Okay, in order to do the agriculture. So there are 2 types. One is commercial and one is subsistence. Okay, under this commercial there is plantation agriculture. I have told you about the mixed farming as well. Then we have the dairy farming. Okay, and the extensive agriculture. Okay, so coming to the major crops now. Major crops, there were 2 major crops. One was the one was the food crops, and the other one was fiber crops. Okay, under the food crops we have rice, maize, millets, and wheat, right? And this rice is the China. Okay, the country China is considered as the largest producer of rice. Then wheats are mostly grown by the developed countries. Then this millets, it is the this can be grown in any part of the soil, and India is considered as the largest producer of millets. Okay, then coming to the maize, I told you that in USA it is termed as corn. Okay, and even this maize is also widely used as a fodder. Okay, it's also a food for the animals. All right, then coming to the major crops, there is one more, that is beverage crops. Okay, under these beverage crops we have coffee and tea. Okay, so nowadays when you go around, you will find restaurants that used to sell only a certain type of coffee. Okay, where you will find it in different flavors. So these beverage crops are considered very popular all around the world. All right, then the last part is agricultural developments. You can try to rewind whatever I've told you, whatever I explained to you about the agricultural developments. You can even narrate yourself to the current situation, like what are the different developments that we can see. Okay, now coming back to these major crops once more, I want to tell you that for these major crops, okay, whether it's rice or whether it's millets or whether it's tea or cotton, okay, it could be a fiber crop, it could be a cash crop or a beverage crops. All of these need certain type of climate, certain type of rainfall is required, certain type of temperature is required, and certain type of soil is also required. Okay, so in order to grow these major crops, in order to have a good cultivation, we rely on these factors. Okay, and these factors you can go back to your textbook in page number 74, and you can read that and you will understand the content even better, the factors that how they used to influence the major crops. Okay, then coming to the major crop again, like cotton. Okay, cotton can be grown only in black soil. So when you try to plant this cotton in other type of soil like an alluvial soil or a loamy soil, it wouldn't grow well. Okay, so cotton mainly grows in black soils, and same goes with the rice. Rice is mostly grown in loamy soil. Okay, so the plantation of these crops, the major crops, they rely on the climate, they rely on the temperature, and we should also see that proper soil and proper weather conditions are suitable for these crops. Okay, now in this agriculture, in this topic, what you have learned is that there are so many agricultural programs that have been going around in our state or any parts of India, but we were not particular about any of this, right? But I'm sure after you have learned this lesson, you will be more interested to know about this agriculture. Okay, so this agriculture, it is said that about 70% of India's population is engaged in agriculture. Okay, when you go to the first paragraph in your textbook in page number 74, you will see that agriculture is an important occupation of human beings, and it is the science and art of cultivating the soil, raising the crops, and rearing livestock. India is essentially an agricultural country, and about 70% of Indian population is engaged in agriculture. Okay, the importance of agriculture in Indian economy may be judged from the fact that it sustains nearly 1/6 of the world's population, despite the fact that it has only 2.4% of the world's total land area. Nearly 2/3 of the country's total labor force is actively engaged in agricultural pursuits. Agriculture is thought to have begun from 10,000 years ago. Okay, it has a very old history of 10,000 years. And before agriculture came into being, man was a food gatherer. We were all nomads. Okay, we always travel from one place to another in search of food, in search of shelter and water. Okay, but ever since agriculture came into being, we have stopped doing that and we have started settling in one place. And these are all the points. Okay, all these points really improves. Okay, it has taken agriculture to a forefront. Okay, so today a lot of development has occurred in the sphere of agriculture. And before, as I said, man was a food gatherer. But slowly, as agriculture came into being, they also stopped traveling from one place to another. And agriculture has made a person stay in a place permanently. Okay. Now, I have explained to you in detail about all these subtopics, but I would also request you to kindly read, okay? Make a habit of reading, because reading not only improves your reading skills, but it will also help you to understand all this, okay, even better, all right? Okay, so in India, when we focus on India, okay, forget about the other countries for now. In India, we can see that a lot of progress has come up, and certain changes has also come up, like I have also mentioned about the zamindari system, okay. So earlier the zamindars, okay, they were in charge of the plot of land, and they used to take taxes from certain farmers or people, okay, but this system has completely come to an end and it has been abolished, okay, ever since India got independence, all right. Now this agriculture, you will see the progress in fields like agricultural extension programs. Okay, so many people are many departments, okay, they are trying to extend these agricultural programs, okay, of course to meet the demands of the huge population, but also to make the agriculture, to upgrade the agricultural systems. Okay, so please remember these points, and please study at home, make a habit of reading all this, okay? And I have also given you one homework, and that is to study the case study, which you will find in page number 80 and 81. And it is about USA and India. These are two countries, okay? One is a developed country, one is a developing country, and you will find difference, okay? When you go through this case study, you will be able to find out what are the differences. Though it's an agriculture, but there is a huge difference between a developed country and a developing country, all right? Now, so with that, I come to the end of our topic, agriculture. I'll see you very soon with a new topic, and till then, you study hard and keep in touch with your books.